If you were born between the years of 1981 to 1996, congratulations, my friend, you're a millennial. Part of a glorious group of individuals who have been through recessions, pandemics, natural disasters, man-made disasters, tragedies, and skyrocketing house prices galore. Lucky us. But you may be wondering, what has this got to do with young adult books? Well, I'll tell you, because the reason why millennials read so many YA books is all linked, and I'll explain why in this video. Take that list that I already gave you. All of those things revolve around one thing: instability. Basically, a time in our lives that forces us to deal with life's challenges, to put it mildly. This is a list that didn't just happen in one time in our lives. It's ongoing and never ending. But what do all these things mirror? They mirror a time in your life when you're growing up, experiencing the pressure of making big decisions, the fear of potentially being alone, of exploring your identity and your place in the world. Young adult fiction is created to soothe these fears, to give young adults something to relate to and to escape with while they're feeling pressure and stress. So with this happening, it's no wonder that millennials who are going through similar, albeit slightly different stressors, are turning to YA as a way to relieve that pressure from their lives. Young adult fantasy in particular contains a lot of life-defining plot, escapable fantasy worlds, and a lot of self-reflection. It can either help you escape or give you hope for showing you how much power you actually have in the world, and empowers you to step into that power, no matter who you are or your circumstances. It doesn't require you to be tuned in or expend unnecessary energy to read, it's just pure fun and escapism. Young adult fiction also tends to focus on mental health in a variety of different ways. It allows readers to feel seen and heard, to feel like they're not alone in their struggles. This kind of representation is just as prominent when it comes to diversity, with YA fiction being one of the best for gender, sexuality, race, disability, and mental illness rep. And I've not even talked about nostalgia. As generations go, we're hyper-focused on anything that will help us return back to our childhood loves. I'm talking video games, anime, toys, books, you name it, we still love it. Nostalgia is a source of comfort. Sometimes looking back can provide an escape from what's to come or our current predicament. So it shouldn't be a shock that millennials heavily gravitate towards things that send us back to our childhood loves. It's not the past that we actually experienced, it's the past as we imagine it now, idealized and edited in memory. Young adult books have the power to take us back to a time where we were enjoying those types of books that give us similar vibes to The Hunger Games, Twilight, Divergent, and The Maze Runner, just to name a few of my past favorites. Adult books, unless you were reading adult books as a child, can't really give you that nostalgic feeling. Only YA really can. And as a bonus, nostalgia allows us to connect with other people our age that also love the things that we used to love as young people. It allows us to connect with each other on a different level, to wear our emotions on our sleeve when we were younger. Maybe the things that we loved so much weren't quite so popular or cool, but now it's okay to love them again. To demonstrate this kind of connection, I asked a bunch of people on my Discord, on Instagram, and here on YouTube to see what you guys think. And this is what you have to say. Some of you said that reading dense books is tiring and YA books are usually easier. This kind of thing shouldn't be overlooked. While not all the time, YA books tend to be faster paced or just generally easier to read, which means that if you've had a bad day or you're dealing with something else, reading a YA book can be a really great solution to that. And some of you say that it's just you catching up on what you missed when you were actually a young adult, because you felt like you couldn't enjoy YA fiction when you were younger because it just wasn't cool or something that was acceptable to do. YA books now, especially because Bookstagram and BookTok exist, are seen as something cool to read. Reading in general is not something that is uncool, which is almost the complete opposite of when we were younger.
When I open a young adult book, it takes me back to a simpler time when the world didn't feel as heavy or as scary. And the worst thing that could happen was that my crush didn't, feel the same way about me. The lightness and hope in those books draws me in time and time again.
Some of us just need a little bit extra hope in our lives, especially given the state of the world right now. YA books completely fill that need. But then a lot of you say that you don't generally pay attention to whether a book is YA or whether it's adult. If the plot sounds interesting to you, you'll read it. Then again, you feel like YA is never too dramatic. It feels safe to read. And that is super important if you're in a time of your life which feels kind of unstable.
I love to read YA books because I feel like they are usually very fast-paced, they're exciting, and sometimes you just really need that book that you can just binge and is just pure entertainment.
Sometimes you just want something that's super easy to read, super fast-paced, and super entertaining. That is YA in a nutshell. So you may have guessed by now that as a millennial, I like to read YA fiction, particularly fantasy and dystopian, but it doesn't really end there. My reasoning encompasses everything from nostalgia to just the enjoyment of reading it, escapism, and more. There is nothing like sitting down after a long day of work knowing that the book I'm going to read asks nothing of me except fun, comfort, or entertainment. It provides me with something uplifting in a world that feels like the negative is never ending. Connecting with others through this joy is perfection. It gives us something to talk about that's not boring or sad, a tiny sliver of hope, and a feeling of being seen. When I was an actual young adult, the sheer range and diversity of YA books that there are now just did not exist back then. We had the big hitters like The Hunger Games and Divergent, things like that, but the rest didn't get much love, or they just didn't get published in the first place. Now we have all the choice in the world, and I don't know about you, but I'm gonna make my way through as many as possible until I kind of just don't want to anymore. So you tell me, as a millennial, do you read YA fiction, and if so, why? I would love to know, so leave me a comment. And I will see you next time for another video.